Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, fellow classmates and Professor Mel. I'll be discussing debate on the generations model of distance education, critiques, and ways forward. This is aligned with Module 2 objectives, particularly on objectives 1 and 3. We'll explore how distance education has been framed through generations, critique the limits of these models, and chart paths for its evolution with forward looking strategies that place learners and communities at the center of distance education. In distance education scholarship, generations are frameworks that segment distance education history into distinct phases. Each phase is characterized by dominant media, may it be print, broadcast, or network systems, and the pedagogical approaches these media enabled. According to Garrison, generation models highlight how new media built on older formats, thereby expanding the range of instructional choices and reshaping learner teacher relationships and learner to learner relationships. In 1995, Garrison proposed a three generation model focused on the balance between learner independence and interaction. Generation 1 was on correspondence learning, which relied on print modules to be delivered by mail. Learners enjoyed maximum autonomy in pacing and schedule, but interaction between the learner and the educator were sparse. Generation 2 was on telecommunications. Independence of the learner dipped as they had to follow schedules. Interaction with the educator and with fellow learners gained immediacy, albeit constrained by technological access and costs. The third generation is on computer based learning. This generation embraced computer assisted instruction and early online platforms. Learners regained flexibility, which then fostered richer and more timely dialogue. Building on Garrison, Taylor in 1995 as well elaborated four models. They both have the same first generation, but for Taylor, he broke down the second generation into two. For Taylor, the second generation is the multimedia model, which combined print, audio tape, videotape, and standalone computer lessons. The third is telelearning model, which leveraged audio teleconferencing, video conferencing, and broadcast TV. The fourth generation is the flexible learning model, which integrated interactive multimedia with computer mediated communication. Taylor's model also takes into account learners' flexibility and interactivity. Taylor argued that educational technologies are vehicles for delivering high quality instructional messages with design and intention at the core, setting the stage for more learner centric experiences. By 1999 and 2001, this was further refined into five generations. The first three generations were the same. However, he broke down the fourth generation, broke it down further into two. The fourth generation is the flexible learning via online delivery. The fifth generation introduced intelligent systems, such as campus portals, which is built on the fourth generation ideals of interaction and multimedia. Additionally, Taylor's model of generations considered costs shouldered by the institutions that we see is increasingly placed on the institutions from the fourth generation to the fifth. Taylor's model underscores how advanced networks and adaptive tools personalized learning for the learners. Yet, this largely frames developments again through technological lenses. In 2010, Heidenreich and Prinsloo challenged generational models on several fronts. On its narrow origins, which equates the origin of distance education with the printing press. This largely ignores earlier correspondence such as cave drawings, ancient letters, and oral traditions. On tech determinism, which centers technology as the chief driver and basis for exploring the future of distance education. On its incomplete dimensions, this means Little attention is paid to who owns the content, how interaction unfolds culturally, organically, and how materials are stored and delivered locally. And finally, the disregard for context in distance education, which proposes universal claims about what next generations look like. This overlooks diverse regional practices, post colonial realities, and non Western innovation. Heidenreich and Prinsloo propose a richer conceptualization that interweaves pedagogy, curriculum design, context, technology, and evolving educational goals. Heidenreich and Prinsloo then closely re examine the five generational models along these lines. They take into account key features that mark and make each generation unique. Pedagogy is about the underlying teaching and learning theories that shape course design and learner support. Curriculum is the planned sequence of learning experiences and targeted outcomes. Content owner is the question on who. Who is responsible for creating and governing course materials? And finally, on interaction, it is the spectrum of learner instructor interaction and learner to learner exchanges. The authors considered medium, which falls under the aspects of how. How does content or knowledge reach the learners? So, for the authors, medium is the communication channel or artifacts used. Production refers to the workflows and the roles involved in crafting learning materials. Storage is all about where do we put what was created for the course, for the curriculum, what is generated or created by the learners. So, this refers to the systems, repositories, and formats used to archive educational resources for access and reuse, delivery. So, it is about the logistical mechanisms that get the content into the learner's hands. And oftentimes, again, it is the blending of multiple channels for maximum reach and flexibility for effective distance education. Rhea's presentation provided contemporary and future considerations in technology and pedagogy. So, to move beyond a technology first narratives, we need to consider open and activity centered models. This means that there is a transition from content dumping towards guiding learners through inquiry, problem solving, and reflective practices, allowing for more discursive approaches, providing the learner more agency on how he or she approaches his or her learning. There's an emerging call for localization, which is natural after years of the discipline or an area of study has spent building and establishing itself and its theories. There's a call to promote local, national, and regional observations and best practice, which can then contribute to theory building and greater enriching the field. There's also a call for context sensitive course design, which is grounded on local culture, language, and socioeconomic realities. There's a question on why are we studying? For whom are we studying? What cause are we going to use our learnings to contribute to? So, distance education for service and community came about by with these questions at its core. A way to approach this is to embed service learning projects that address real community needs so that distance education becomes a reciprocal process of learning and local development. The future generation of distance education will have to address context and community based student support and facilitation and emerging problems in the world as the role and purpose of higher education is being challenged and redefined. Massive open and online courses and micro credentials proliferate. And credentials should not reflect only knowledge acquisition, but demonstrate community impact and collaborative problem solving. In sum, generational models have illuminated distance education's technological milestones. but alone they cannot capture its pedagogical richness and social relevance. By integrating deeper theoretical insights, embracing local context, and foregrounding community engagement, the next generation of distance education can truly empower learners and redefine the mission of higher education. Thank you, and I look forward to your insights and questions.